Hey y'all, Seussianism here to help you study for taking the Naturalization Civic Test in 2021, using the 2008 version that is back in use for the foreseeable future. For those who don't know, during the naturalization process, applicants will be orally tested on 10 out of the possible 100 questions and will be required to answer at least 6 of them correctly to pass. I will be going over the questions and answers, then review at the end. We the people of the United States of America created the Constitution with the idea that the people govern themselves. That is why the first 3 words of the Constitution are, we the people. The people made this Constitution to govern themselves by using it to set up the government. One important part of that government is the supreme law of the land that is set by the Constitution. The people made such supreme laws at the Constitutional Convention where the Constitution was written. Now, the Constitution and its convention are very old, as it was written long before any of us were born in 1787. But there were plenty of people that were older than the Constitution at the time who helped create it, such as Benjamin Franklin, who was actually the oldest member of the Constitutional Convention. Now, back then, not everyone was sure they approved the newly written United States Constitution, so some people wrote the Federalist Papers to support the Constitution, with one such famous Federalist author being Alexander Hamilton. One way of remembering these founding fathers is by the dollar bills they are on today. So while old Ben Franklin almost lived to 100, Federalist Hamilton always had many tens of things to say about the Constitution, among other things. Actually, a lot of people have had things to say about the Constitution, and some of those things became amendments, which are a change to the Constitution. The first 10 of these amendments established many rights and became known as the Bill of Rights. Currently, the Constitution has had 27 amendments, but there could be more made by the legislative branch of government. The Constitution itself tries to prevent one branch of government from becoming too powerful through checks and balances. One of the branches that you'll hear a lot about is the legislative branch, typically referred to as Congress. Federal laws are made, aka written, in the United States Senate and House of Representatives, known together as Congress. Congress's 2 parts are similar but have some key differences, but can be simply known as the Senate and the House. Each state has 2 seats in the Senate, so with 50 states we have 100 senators. The House of Representatives has 435 voting members, with the seat number varying by state. One way of remembering this is thinking Congress was trying to count from 3 to 5, but they were so incompetent they went 4-3-5 and gave up on trying to correct it. And if something happens where the president and vice president are both not fit to serve, the Speaker of the House of Representatives will become president. If such a thing were to happen today, the current Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, would be moving into the White House without an election. For congressional elections, those 100 senators are elected to 6-year terms, while each of the 435 House seats are elected to only 2-year terms. Going back to the Constitution, one of the powers of the federal government enshrined in its laws is that the federal Congress has the power to declare war. Violence and crime are some of the reasons we have the rule of law, or law and order, that means everyone must follow the law, whether they are a voter, in Congress, or president. When it comes to the laws in the United States, the judicial branch reviews laws. The biggest law questions are reserved for the highest court in the United States, known as the Supreme Court. Currently, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is John Roberts. He is one of the 9 judges that currently makes up the Supreme Court, but they all lay out the laws of the United States. Laws are very important, so when you become a United States citizen, you promise to obey the laws of the United States. There wasn't always a United States, and the people who lived here before Europeans are known as the American Indians. There are many tribes of American Indians in the United States. One you may have heard of is the Navajo. Eventually, Europeans took over the Americas, and what would later become the United States were only British colonies until the Declaration of Independence declared our independence from Great Britain. The man who wrote the Declaration of Independence was Thomas Jefferson. In the Declaration, Jefferson wrote we had fundamental rights such as life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The colonies chose to fight the British for independence to have such rights they lacked due to high taxes without representation. The Declaration of Independence was adopted July 4th, 1776. As we celebrate the United States during the Pledge of Allegiance, we show our allegiance to the flag of the United States. Another celebration is the national anthem, known as the Star-Spangled Banner, named after the flag. The flag has 13 red and white stripes to represent the original 13 colonies. These 13 original colonies would then become 13 states in the new nation, such as New York, New Jersey, and New Hampshire. When it comes to celebrating Independence Day in every state, we do so every 4th of July. There are many national holidays, but my favorites are New Year's Day and Independence Day, celebrating a new year of prosperity for our independent nation. But there have also been plenty of wars in our nation's history, such as the First World War, with Woodrow Wilson being president throughout. There were many wars in the 1900s in which the United States fought, but one of the first major ones was World War I. Following World War I, there was a Great Depression and a Second World War when Franklin Roosevelt was president. Eisenhower, who would later become president, served as a general during World War II. The three countries the United States fought in World War II were Japan, Germany, and Italy. One way of remembering the world wars and their details is Woodrow Wilson was president during the First World War, and they started calling it World War I to match his initials, WW. Franklin Roosevelt was president, but he had a Great Depression when World War II didn't use his initials, so his General Eisenhower cheered him up by running over Japan, Germany, and Italy, who would all later make a lot of money by selling cars. Selling products and raising capital are hallmarks of the economic system of the United States, with our capitalist economy. But during the Cold War, the main concern of the United States was communism being at odds with capitalism that we've had all the way back to George Washington. Our very first president, like Eisenhower, was a general before winning the vote, and his name was George Washington. For his service fighting the British and leading the nation as president, George Washington is known as the father of our nation. Washington is so famous they named a state after him, along with the capital of the United States, known as Washington, D.C. In Washington, D.C., as well as the rest of the United States, the two main political parties are Democratic and Republican. Joe Biden is the current president of the United States, and he is part of the Democratic political party. Another Democrat is the current vice president, named Kamala Harris. No matter who is president, they will be in charge of the executive branch. The commander-in-chief of the military, president. Who signs bills written by Congress to make them law? President. Who vetoes bills written by Congress, stopping them from becoming law? President. And if something happens where the president can no longer serve, the vice president becomes president. The executive has a cabinet of many people that advises the president. Two cabinet-level positions are the vice president and the secretary of defense that help handle the executive branch and the armed forces. Presidents are elected to 4-year terms, with each presidential election happening in November. One way of remembering term lengths is that House representatives are elected for 2-year terms, presidents are elected for 4-year terms, and senators are elected for 6-year terms, while they are all elected in November, so be sure to vote that month. American citizens can participate in their democracy by voting and joining a political party. In fact, a responsibility of only the citizens of the United States is to vote in a federal election. It is not only a responsibility, but a right only belonging to citizens to vote in a federal election. But back in the day, not every citizen was allowed to vote. Susan B. Anthony fought for civil rights, specifically for women's rights like the right to vote. Martin Luther King Jr. also fought for civil rights as he worked for equality for all Americans. MLK was a key figure in the civil rights movement that tried to end racial discrimination. The Constitution has been amended 4 times on who can vote, one of them saying any citizen can vote. But in order to vote for president, you have to be at least 18 years old or older. And all men at the age of 18 must register for the selective service that is used by the Department of Defense to draft Americans should a draft be called by Congress and the President. A draft hasn't been called for many years now, but there are still conflicts and attacks, such as the major event of September 11, 2001, when terrorists attacked the United States. Unlike the terrorists who attacked us, the United States has the First Amendment that guarantees many rights or freedoms, such as the freedom of religion. The freedom of religion itself means you can practice any religion or not practice religion. Everyone in the United States has all of the rights they can exercise, such as the freedom of religion and the right to bear arms. But even with these freedoms, there are still requirements, such as the deadline for submitting federal income tax forms being April 15th. Still, freedoms like religious freedom are what brought colonists to America. These colonists also brought Africans through force and sold them as slaves in the Americas. Slavery was allowed in the United States until Abraham Lincoln became president and did many important things. one of the most important being that he freed the slaves. The Emancipation Proclamation is what Lincoln did to have freed the slaves. Slavery was the biggest problem that led to the Civil War. The Civil War was very uncivil, being the deadliest war the United States fought in the 1800s. The war between the North and the South of the United States is also the Civil War, which began as Southern states seceded and ended with them rejoining the Union. After the Civil War, the United States gained more states to today, where we have 50 stars on the flag because there is a star for each state. With the Constitution, some powers belong to states, such as the power to give a driver's license. You need to legally drive a car that may have been made in Japan, Germany, or Italy. Some states have more representatives than others in Congress due to the state's population. The United States and Canada have a long border. One state that borders Canada is Washington on the west coast, while another is New York on the east coast. If you want to see the Statue of Liberty, you'll likely be headed towards New York. If you decide to fly from New York to, say, Germany to check out a car show, you'll fly over the Atlantic Ocean that is on the east coast. If instead you decide to take a boat down the longest river in the United States, you'll be going down the Mississippi River. Your Mississippi River trip would end by flowing into the Atlantic Ocean in the state of Louisiana, which was the name of the territory the United States bought from France in 1803. You could take a cruise from Louisiana to the territory of the United States, Puerto Rico, located in the Atlantic Ocean. But maybe instead of the East Coast, you decide to check out the West Coast and want to go to Baja, Mexico. Well, then you'll probably drive through California, since it's a state that borders Mexico. And if you're on the West Coast and decide to fly over to Japan to tour a car factory, you will fly over the Pacific Ocean. But no matter what state you are in, a United States Senator represents all people of the state they are elected from. Now for this last section, you'll need to research your elected officials on your own. The easiest to find will likely be one of your 2 senators of the state you live in. Your other congressional representative that serves in the House of Representatives for your district may be harder to find. For your state itself, you should know who the current governor is as well as the capital of your state. Now with all the questions covered, I will begin the review by reading off every question. To begin, the idea of self-government is in the first 3 words of the Constitution. What are these words? What does the Constitution do? What is the supreme law of the land? What happened at the Constitutional Convention? When was the Constitution written? What is one thing Benjamin Franklin is famous for? The Federalist Papers supported the passage of the U.S. Constitution. Name one of the writers. What is an amendment? What do we call the first 10 amendments to the Constitution? How many amendments does the Constitution have? What stops one branch of government from becoming too powerful? Name one branch or part of the government. Who makes federal laws? What are the 2 parts of the U.S. Congress? How many U.S. senators are there? The House of Representatives has how many voting members? If both the president and the vice president can no longer serve, who becomes president? What is the name of the Speaker of the House of Representatives now? We elect a U.S. Senator for how many years? We elect a U.S. Representative for how many years? Under our Constitution, some powers belong to the federal government. What is one power of the federal government? What is the rule of law? What does the judicial branch do? What is the highest court in the United States? Who is the Chief Justice of the United States now? How many justices are on the Supreme Court? What is one promise you make when you become a United States citizen? Who lived in America before the Europeans arrived? Name one American Indian tribe in the United States. What did the Declaration of Independence do? Who wrote the Declaration of Independence? What are 2 rights in the Declaration of Independence? Why did the colonists fight the British? When was the Declaration of Independence adopted? What do we show loyalty to when we say the Pledge of Allegiance? What is the name of the national anthem? Why does the flag have 13 stripes? There were 13 original states. Name 3. When do we celebrate Independence Day? Name 2 national U.S. holidays. Who was president during World War I? Name one war fought by the United States in the 1900s. Who was president during the Great Depression and World War II? Before he was president, Eisenhower was a general. What war was he in? Who did the United States fight in World War II? What is the economic system in the United States? During the Cold War, what was the main concern of the United States? Who was the first president? Who is the father of our country? What is the capital of the United States? What are the two major political parties in the United States? What is the name of the President of the United States now? What is the political party of the President now? What is the name of the Vice President of the United States now? Who is in charge of the executive branch? Who is the Commander-in-Chief of the military? Who signs bills to become laws? Who vetoes bills? If the President can no longer serve, who becomes President? What does the Presidential Cabinet do? What are two cabinet-level positions? We elect a president for how many years? In what month do we vote for president? What are two ways that Americans can participate in their democracy? What is one responsibility that is only for a United States citizen? Name one right only for United States citizens. What did Susan B. Anthony do? What did Martin Luther King Jr. do? What movement tried to end racial discrimination? There are 4 amendments to the Constitution about who can vote. Describe one of them. How old do citizens have to be to vote for president? When must all men register for this elective service? What major event happened on September 11th, 2001 in the United States? What is one right or freedom from the First Amendment? What is freedom of religion? What are 2 rights of everyone living in the United States? When is the last day you can send in federal income tax reforms? What is one reason colonists came to America? What group of people was taken to America and sold as slaves? What was one important thing that Abraham Lincoln did? What did the Emancipation Proclamation do? Name one problem that led to the Civil War. Name one war fought by the United States in the 1800s. Name the U.S. war between the North and the South. Why does the flag have 50 stars? Under our Constitution, some powers belong to the states. What is one power of the states? Why do some states have more representatives than other states? Name one state that borders Canada. Where is the Statue of Liberty? What ocean is on the east coast of the United States? Name one of the 2 longest rivers in the United States. What territory did the United States buy from France in 1803? Name one U.S. territory. Name one state that borders Mexico. What ocean is on the west coast of the United States? Who does a United States Senator represent? What is one of your state's U.S. senators now? Name your U.S. representative. Who is the governor of your state now? What is the capital of your state? And that is everything. I'd like to thank you all for listening, and I hope this helps you study and pass. Have an excellent day.